I truly had a magical childhood. Addiction doesn't discriminate, right?
Right.
I was pregnant probably about 17 and a half.
Wow, that's really young.
So, yeah, it was very young. It was really one of the hardest nights of my life. Beating after beating. It was awful. It was a very dark spot. And so he handed me a pill. I say my addiction started truly with that one little pill. I then started to take those scripts they would write me and photocopy them. I was making script after script. I had to feed my addiction. And I walked into the house one day and they just dumped all my scripts out, all my bottles, all my pills. And I sat there, Will, going, that's not mine. I don't know what you're talking about. So at that point, I needed to get help. I needed to see a doctor. The very beginning of 2011, I discovered alcohol. Whatever pill or drug I was taking that didn't finish me off, alcohol would.
Hey everybody, this is Will Gordon from the Willpower Podcast, briefly coming on before this next excellent episode to remind you all that did you know that 76%, you heard that right, 76% of you that follow my content regularly have not subscribed to my channel yet, and I'm really wondering why that is. So if you could, the easiest and freest way to help support my show is to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of it. Like it, share it, send it to people that you think it might help. Because that's what I'm doing here. I've been through it. I lost my liver. I lost my kidney. I had such a severe alcohol addiction that I feel you, okay? I understand what you're going through. And I'm really hoping that these stories are helping. So if you want to hear these stories keep coming, then please hit that subscribe button. It'll be the best decision that you'll ever make. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I really hope you enjoyed this next episode. I heard it was a pretty good one. Take care, everybody. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Willpower Podcast. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. Today's a very special episode because Danielle Mallard over here, we've been trying to make this episode since we were going back through Instagram direct messages, and we noticed that December 2024 was when we were supposed to do this episode. But life got in the way, as it typically does with many of us. And but you know, sometimes the timing is always right, and right now the timing is right. So hi Danielle, how are you today? And thank you so much for coming on the Willpower Podcast.
Oh my God, thank you. Well, I'm good. I'm very good today. Like I was telling you, a little nervous, but
I'll be fine. Yeah, don't be.
Okay.
You've done other podcasts. I've seen you. You're through the circuit. You know, you have an awesome story. Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Great. So Danielle, if you could you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, and who you are?
So my story isn't one of trauma when I was little or growing up, you know, how, you know, some people think that addicts, you know, come from a certain background or a different childhood or whatever the case may be. And that just wasn't the case for me. I was born in Dearborn, Michigan I'm half Scottish, half Lebanese. And so my religion's Islam. I'm a Muslim. And so, growing up in California wasn't like the ideal situation, as my dad was really strict. I was very, very close with my dad. My dad is my best friend, very close with him. But growing up, I truly had a magical childhood. I'm not kidding. And I don't say that to brag or anything, but I really did grow up magical. Like, you know, we had everything and anything that we wanted. I would go to school in limos, crazy vacations, things like that. Yeah. And so, you know, I look back at how I grew up and like where, you know, what life led me to be. And I'm just like, you know, obviously addiction doesn't discriminate, right?
Right.
So growing up, we moved to California, Riverside, California, when I was probably 4 or 5. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I have 3 sisters and a brother. And growing up was it was great. I don't really have any bad memories or anything like that. I had a really loving home, great sibling. Like, truly, I was very blessed. But my dad was always very, very strict on me, like to the point where friends could come over, but I really couldn't go anywhere. There was no cell phones, things like that at the time. So, you know, I was always just home and really sheltered. And I always dreamt about, I guess, sometimes little girls like getting married and being a mom. Like I never thought of like what I'm going to become when I'm older. I just thought I want to be a mom and a wife. Right. And so, as my teenage years started to approach, my dad was like, no, we need to move back to community and family and things like that. And so we moved back here when I was 16. I went to a different high school when literally every year of high school. I went to a different high school, but I finished high school here in Dearborn, Michigan. And I was the new girl, didn't have friends, didn't really make friends. And so back to my dad being very strict, like no boys, no boyfriends, literally like nothing, right? So when we moved here, my mom and dad actually had a pretty nasty divorce. They got divorced when we moved here. They were married for 20 something years. And that was very hard on everybody. I was probably 16 at this time, and there was a family friend who was a lifelong family friend of my family's. His son, who was probably 5 years older than me, showed interest in me. And me being sheltered and so kind of like on lockdown, I was like, oh, hell yeah. I didn't know any better. I was a baby and I thought I knew everything.
Mm-hmm.
So despite my mother wanting me to get married, my dad, I think they just were going through their own tough shit. And so I get it now being a mom. I think it was just, if she wants to go and get married, that's fine. It was just a really, horrible time and a nasty divorce. So I fed right into that. And I met my ex-husband. I was pregnant probably about 17 and a half. I found out I was pregnant.
Wow, that's really young.
So yeah, it was very young. And so the marriage was fine in the beginning. I didn't see any red flags, anything like that. But mind you, I'm still a baby at this time. Yeah. And so everything was fine. And then when I had my daughter Hannah, so I have 4 kids. I have Hannah, who's 21, Cassim, who's 20, Emma, who's 12, and Ramsey, who's 10. And when I had my first daughter, Hannah, I had severe postpartum, which back then I didn't identify as postpartum. I just knew something was off. I didn't understand. But coming from a culture or in the Arab community kind of over here, it's like just pray more, just talk to God more. I was told all the time that it was because your mom is white or you're not Muslim enough or whatever the case may be. So I already was fed into like this negative connotation of my religion, and I wasn't religious at this time at all. I believed in God, but that was pretty much it. When I had my daughter Hannah, things spiraled. Not only was I severe postpartum to the point where I wanted to kill her. Will, it was horrific, like the things I was going through. And mind you, I just turned 18. I was isolated from my mom and dad at this point. I was just with my ex-husband and his family. And that was also extremely controlling, okay? Very, very controlling from them. And so because I didn't really know any better, I just was always very respectful. I thought the respectful thing to do was just go. I couldn't really voice my opinion or do the things I wanted to do or anything like that. They were a very wealthy family, and they opened my ex-husband, they opened their son a hookah lounge around here. And when that was open, things just went left. Mind you, he's 25 at this time. He's still, very young at this point. And things got pretty rough. It was a very traumatic, abusive relationship. And unbeknownst to me at the time, he was using, I did not know at this time. So my daughter, Hannah.
Do you mind asking, was it a drug specifically that was interfering?
Well, that's how, I don't want to blame him for how I got addicted, but yeah, at the time it was pills. And again, I didn't know that. What I know now, it was pills. And so after I had my daughter Hannah, she was 3 weeks old, I got pregnant again with my son Cassim. They're 10 months apart, which it was traumatic to say the least in itself. So I'm at the point where I'm 18 years old, have a 3-week-old newborn. I have a baby on the way. And at 20 weeks pregnant with my second son, I was told he was going to be born with gastroschisis. So it's where the abdominal wall doesn't close in utero. And so his intestines were all on the outside of his body. It sounds crazy now. And back then they didn't really hear of it. So not only that, everything just starts to be toppled on top of me. I was terrified. I was alone. I really just had me, myself, and I, and that was it. After I had my son, Cassim, I was prescribed Percocet. Now, growing up, I didn't know what addiction was, what drugs really were. I really was very naive, and there wasn't social media and things like that to educate you. I really didn't know. And so as things got progressively worse in the marriage, infidelity, we could use our imagination. It was pretty horrific. And
Hmm.
so I wouldn't fight back and I wouldn't cry and I would pretty much just shut up and put up. I was handed one night, I really will never forget it. It was really one of the hardest nights of my life. Beating after beating. It was just,
Oh
it
my
was
gosh,
awful. It was a
Danielle.
very dark
I
spot.
am so sorry. That
No,
is so
no, I
tragic.
mean, and so he handed me a pill, which at the time I thought it was a loving thing. I thought it was to make me feel better or whatever the case may be. And I don't want to speak on him, but he was using at the time. And so maybe he didn't understand his own addiction and thought, if this makes me feel good, despite everything that he was doing. Again, it was a shitty situation. And so he
Yeah.
gave me that I say my addiction started truly with that one little pill. And the way that I felt, Will, was beyond euphoric. I had
Yeah.
energy. I liked myself, or so I thought. I could take care of these two babies who were both now at this point, both of them under two. Two carriers in hand, like they were as if they were twins. I think they were harder than they were twins. And that quickly spiraled. So by 20, 21 years old, it got really, really bad, to the point where my father found out what I was going through, not the addiction part. He knew about the abuse part. Came, pulled up in a U-Haul in the middle of the night. My ex-husband wasn't home. He was at the hookah bar and packed me and my kids up and said, we're going. I was not going to leave, Will. I was terrified. I was always told that I'm nothing. Nobody will ever want me. I'm broken. I have two kids, especially in this community with the Arab mentality. I really instilled in me that I would never be anything. I was a horrible mom, like to scare the living crap out of me. And I didn't want to leave because I thought all those things were true. So
Yeah.
here I am now at 20, about to turn 21. I'm now living with my dad with two kids under. I have this addiction that's spiraling that nobody knows about at this point.
Sure.
I didn't even really know how bad it was. And I'm now living back with my dad. That was at 21 years old.
I cannot
I got
believe
divorced.
how much life you were living up until the age of 21 already. I mean,
Yeah.
Danielle, let me just like clap you on
No.
and just say like that. You just, there's so much there to unpack in your character and your vulnerability and your openness to talk about these things. I really appreciate that, and it's really courageous
Thank
of you
you.
to do that. So thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
that.
No, I mean, I feel like you have to show the raw, ugly, nasty side of addiction because then
Sure.
when you get sober and clean, you know, I didn't just get sober and clean, and not have to face really dark demons. I mean, that's what addiction's all about. That's what I think resilience and strength is and made me
Absolutely.
who we all are, right? Without our demons. So, at 21 at this point, I'm living with my dad, the addiction spiraling out of control, and I had to feed my habit. Um, to feed my habit, it was a full-time job. And when I say two babies and carriers, I'm not kidding. I would pack their bag in the morning, get them ready as if I was going to take them to school or I was going to work, and that wasn't the case. I would doctor shop day after day, all day long. I would go doctor to doctor to doctor, fake ailments to get scripts.
Hmm.
And then I would go to the pharmacy, and every time I got denied at a pharmacy, I would go to another one. It really was morning to night, all while using high and having two babies in tow, which I'm not proud of at all. That actually is,
But Danielle, I think you need to give yourself some grace there because you were going through so much an unhealthy relationship. You were pregnant at 18. Two children, three at 21,
two,
or
two at
two, two,
21. Yeah.
two at 21. You had two children already. I mean, and an abusive partner. Uh, you you were like you're around my age, so you were in the camp of like not knowing just how devastatingly addictive
Yeah.
these medications can be, and
Right.
doctors were just giving them out because
Yes.
they didn't
Back
really.
then.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's been plenty of
Yeah.
documentaries done on the opioid crisis and how much they were just manufacturing
Oh
pharmaceutical
yeah,
heroin.
they would give me I really really was told no, to the point where this is where the lying and the conniving side and the manipulation side of addiction pops in. I then started to take those scripts they would write me and photocopy them. I was making
Oh, you gotta
script
do what you
after
gotta do.
script. I had to feed my addiction because
Hmm.
At this point, I knew what withdrawal was pretty well, not to the extent where like if you don't have anything at all, like you've been through it, withdrawal. So yeah, this was my full-time job. And I think I dropped to like maybe honestly 89 pounds. It
Oh,
was my hair falling out. I was erratic. I was falling asleep everywhere. My sister
yep.
tells a story that I one day just fell asleep in a cupcake. I have no recollection. It was horrible. Just to go back just a little bit, when I first got divorced back in 2006, I met a man named Rob, who at this point, I already in my head, nobody's going to want me, nobody's going to like me. I have 2 kids. Rob had no kids, never married. We come from, a Muslim community. And so in my world, when he showed interest in me, immediately I was like, well, I have 2 kids. And his answer was, and
Who
now I did
cares?
not disclose that I was an addict at this point,
Hmm.
because I'm still trying to hide it. So 2006, I met Rob, and Rob, who is my now husband 20 years later, um, he stepped in my life when I think I needed him the most. And I just didn't know it. I always say he's heaven sent, truly. Sorry, I'm gonna cry.
No, please. I mean,
Um,
Rob sounds like a fantastic human being. I mean,
Wait till
two
I tell
children,
you about
and
Rob. So
he's like, who cares? I love that. I
he
love this guy already.
he
He's
took
awesome.
them on, and so fast forward a little bit, it became aware that I was addicted, that I needed help, and so it came a rough time where there was a mini intervention held. Let me just say this. I'm so blessed to have the family that I have. People are very unfortunately not blessed. I don't take for granted how blessed I am with the
Yeah,
family that I
me
had.
too.
Um, I'm talking aunts, uncles, my siblings, my mom, my dad. To the point where we had an intervention where it was my aunt, who is like my mom, my mother, my father, and Rob. And I walked into the house one day and they just dumped all my scripts out, all my bottles, all my pills. And I sat there, Will, going, that's not mine. I don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. And as you can, so at that point, I needed to get help. I needed to see a doctor. And so my parents at this point were telling Rob, you should leave. He has no kids with me at this point. Go live your life. I was telling him that. Like, why would anyone put themselves in that situation, right? It was rough. And Rob at that time never left through all the addiction. Fast forward a little bit, in 2010, I met a doctor by the name of Dr. Robin Lipsky. She's an addiction specialist and addiction doctor, and
Hmm.
she was the first. I went to her to obviously get help. She was the first woman. She was the first person that treated me like a human despite my addiction, and she explained to me what I was going through. That this is a disease. That this is not a choice. That I need help. Just like any other disease, I need help.
Hmm.
And she was going to be there to help me and guide me every step of the way. I owe her everything. She put me on Suboxone,
Yep.
which I'm all for Suboxone, right?
Yeah,
For
I'm
me
familiar
though,
with it.
you can't just take Suboxone and the end all be all, right? You have to do intensive therapy. You have to do the hard work. And I was never really into the therapy stuff, but I was doing it.
Hmm.
And Suboxone really showed me a little glimpse of sobriety. And so I was on that for maybe probably about a year. Rob and I decided in 2011 we were going to get married. So Rob and I got married 2011. We then decided that I want to start to get pregnant. Um, hold on, I missed a whole part. So from 2010, I was sober for about a year. In 2011, I was off the Suboxone. The very beginning of 2011, um, I discovered alcohol. Now I knew what alcohol was. I was at a shower. I'll never forget it. I was actually doing very well with myself, and
Daniel, can I
go
back you up there?
yeah,
Were you not drinking at all before you were
nope.
on the perk?
Never
Really?
touched alcohol a day in my life. I thought it was gross. Never. Truly. I know. I think myself that I say that to myself too.
That's,
Like,
yeah, it's
it was
unique.
always drugs for me. And when I
Hmm.
say drugs, I mean literally anything, any pill, whether it was Benadryl. I have an addictive mind. I'm an addict. I would have
Same.
anything that I could get my hands on just to
Hmm.
numb. That's what I would do. So no, never. I never touched alcohol. So, mind you, my wedding was May 15th, 2011. So a month prior, maybe a little 2 months prior, I was at a baby shower. I don't know what came over me. I now know what it was. I was always burying a lot of the trauma. Um, that had happened to me. There was so much more trauma, but that takes whole different podcasts that we could do that. But I was burying all my trauma. I was
Yeah.
numbing all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was off the Suboxone, I thought I was doing good, but yet all of that unresolved trauma and darkness I had never really dealt with. And so it was a glass of wine, I'll never forget it. And if I thought that drugs were the most amazing thing at this time, I had seen nothing yet. Whatever pill or drug I was taking that didn't finish me off, alcohol would. I
Mm-hmm.
was a raging alcoholic from 2011 to 2019. It spiraled very fast to the point I was half a gallon, maybe a gallon of vodka a day.
Oh my
I
gosh, you were
was
like with me. Oh.
extremely overweight. And at this point, so I'm sorry, I'll back you up. 2011, I started to drink. Got pregnant and I had my daughter Emma, who's 12 now, in 2013. Now, I will say this, and it's still mind boggling to me. Every time I was pregnant, I did not touch anything. I did not use, I did not drink. And I was okay, which is mind boggling to
Interesting.
me
Yeah,
because I
that
still
is
cannot.
interesting.
Now, I know that obviously my kids are my absolute everything. And physically, carrying, as a mother carrying a baby, I did not want to, you know what, I'm going to be honest. Not only did I not want to hurt my children, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I also did not want to get, I guess, exposed. If I were to stay drinking or using while I was pregnant, obviously the baby would come out withdrawal. So
Mm-hmm.
I was more, I can't believe I'm about to say this.
No,
I was
please.
more scared of using and drinking to not be found out than I was to harm my child.
Yeah, it's a powerful
That's just the side of addiction. That's
yes.
just, and now to even fathom
I know,
that I
right?
could do that was my thought, not protecting my children. I sometimes don't know how I was blessed with the kids that I was blessed
Mm-hmm.
with. So I didn't use or anything, but the second that I had her in 2013, I went right back to it. So now I have two kids under the age of 9 or 10, older ones. I have a third that I just had. She was a baby. And I'm this ragey, walking alcoholic. I call myself a dirty, wet rat because I could not describe how I was other than that.
Mm.
If you visualize a dirty, wet rat, that's what I am. Dark, smelly, ugly, dead. Nobody wants to be around it. They just want it to die. Now, I'm not saying that's how my family looked at me, but that's how I looked at me. So I got pregnant again with my last son, Ramsey, in 2014. Again, did not use it or drink. The second I had him, I went right back to it. So now I have 4 kids under the age of 10. I'm married to this incredible human who has stayed with me through the addiction and now the alcohol. And so 2011 to 2019, in and out of rehabs, in and out of psych wards, patient, inpatient, outpatient. When I was using drugs, I was arrested for falling asleep, child endangerment. I was stealing, lying, cheating, anything I could to get my habit. So as the alcohol progressively came in, I know I'm forgetting a lot of parts, but as the alcohol started to destroy me, the depression, anxiety, the suicide ideation kicked into full drive.
Sure.
I didn't want to be alive anymore. I wouldn't come out of my room. I missed functions. I missed all my kids, especially my poor older two, who are now 20 and 21. The mom they had shouldn't even have been called a mom. I was not a mother to them. If I didn't have my family to help, raise them, and let me tell you, they're the most amazing two human beings you'll ever meet in your whole life. And I, honest to God, don't know how I got so lucky with them. I didn't even take care of them. I didn't go to school functions. I didn't show up. I wasn't present, nothing. And then to have to deal with me and the alcohol to the point where they would find my alcohol bottles. And I would physically shake them to not tell on me. Like, it was really dark, really dark. And so I have all this trauma in me, and I would never, clean and sober, ever even fathom doing that to them. But that's what addiction does to you. And the things that my kids had to see, the things that I did to them, really should not even be spoken. But I think that's just my story, and how far I've come from that, I think, needs to be told.
Yes.
So I have, as things got worse, like I said, the depression, anxiety, the suicide ideation. I didn't shower well. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't leave my room. Nothing. I was just that dirty, wet rat, and I no longer wanted to live. On top of that, I was pumped with so many different antidepressants and anxiety meds and all that stuff that, again, I just wanted to feel better. And yeah, I think I wasn't, numbing with the pills, but I was numbing with the alcohol and things like that. At this point, I was drinking 24/7. I think, as more than anybody, that, even like a half hour of going without something, I would shake violently, throw up, completely sweat. I was a demon. For years, I did not look at myself in the mirror. Really, I would always put my head down. It was
Danielle,
awful.
oh my gosh, I am so
Oof.
sympathetic to your
Oof.
story. I'm welling up over
I really
here
told myself I'm not going to cry.
I'm welling up because we have so many similarities in our story when it comes to the low self-worth, the hatred, the giving yourself nicknames that are, they're detrimental to your mental health and your self-esteem. And oh my gosh, I did the same exact stuff, Danielle. I avoided mirrors for about like 6 years or something. Great. I just didn't walk past mirrors. I was so ashamed of what was looking back. I didn't like the sound of my voice. I didn't like the way I looked.
Yeah.
I hated everything about me. I felt like a bad husband. I felt like a fraud. And as a teacher, I felt such a loser in a low life and in a worthless piece of wasted space on this earth. And
Right.
I know what you mean by that. That's really difficult to wrap your head around. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but
Thank you.
you're much stronger now on the way out.
I used to feel, thank you. When people do hear my story and they're empathetic to it, because, you and I, we come from the same community, the same cloth. And so, you also make me feel very safe. It's easy for me to share the ugly sides of what I went through with other alcoholics and addicts, and so I feel like, because other alcoholics and addicts have made me feel so safe and so seen and so heard, that I told myself, when I get clean, when I get sober, whenever that may be, eventually I will be strong enough to share my story so that others, don't have to feel alone. I was very alone, especially in a Muslim community. I was all by myself, always. I was always by myself. My family didn't understand it at all. They tried to, but they just,
Isn't
just
that
don't
such
get
a
it.
isn't that so it's so hard to explain to people who aren't, who they want the best for you. They want to understand. They really do. But it's impossible unless
It is. It's impossible.
yeah. I
There,
would say that to my wife. I would say, "Hun, like I'm trying to get sober.
yeah.
I did the 125 days, but in leading up to when I really fell off the wagon, and I was trying to explain to her, but she never had a drinking problem. She never had any kind of substance abuse issues or anything.
Right.
What it seemed like. So it was really difficult, and I felt so ashamed, and I was full of regret and just shame and guilt, and I wasn't willing, or actually I was willing to get help, but I wasn't willing to do the real steps to ask the steps. So can you talk about that when you met that doctor specifically? Doctor, who was she?
Dr. Robin Lipsky.
Yeah. So was she aware when you were going through these, like you were trying to get off the Percocets, and then she made you feel validated? So how was she playing a part in your life when you were kind of spiraling afterwards?
So prior to going to Dr. Robin Lipsky, there was a doctor, I forgot his name, who was giving me, who risked his license to give me, he was giving me probably 200 pills at a
Oh
time,
my.
at a pop. I'll remember I went to a pharmacy, they flagged me and said, I'm not giving these pills. And he called them up. I called him, obviously, because I
Mm.
don't give a shit how I'm going to get, I just need
Right.
to get high. I called him up. He overruled everything. They actually wrote him up. And I don't know what happened with that. They wrote him up. But at this point, he's like, I cannot keep doing this to you. And I, of course, manipulation, kept telling him, oh, I just need one more script because, I'm weaning off. Obviously, I'm not weaning off. I'm just telling him anything. And so at this point, he's like, I cannot help you. I was getting him in a lot of trouble, things like that. And so he was like, I'm going to refer you to Dr. Robin Lipsky. Now, not only was she a woman, but she was, the way that she spoke to me, the way that she explained my disease, my addiction. Really, she did diagrams like little cartoon characters, and
Yeah.
she explained the clinical side of what I was going through that I couldn't make sense of. She
Mm-hmm.
explained the dopamine. She explained, the euphoric. She explained withdrawal and tolerance to the point where, not that she had to dumb it down for me, but I did not know. I had no
No.
clue. I just thought, why can't I stop? I can't stop. I don't know why I can't stop. My family would say, you just stop. Just don't take them. Just stop. And they
Mm-hmm.
don't understand that. And I was always mocked because, I would go through withdrawal and nobody really understand it. And it was, withdrawal. I cold turkey. I tried to cold turkey one time, the Percocet, and I would rather die,
Mm-hmm.
rather die. And I just, there's no words to explain addiction or withdrawal. There's just no words to explain it unless you've gone through it.
Yeah, it's like
But
it's a compulsivity habit, So
yeah,
when you just get used to doing the same things over and over every single day, and the low self worth and the spiraling and the detrimental energy that you're bringing into your world, it can get so out of control so quickly, and
mm-hmm.
then it becomes habitual, and then all of a sudden you don't even know why you're going for that
You
wine
go,
bottle, or you don't
yeah,
even know why you're looking for a new script or whatever. So
yeah.
when did you kick the Percocet finally?
So that was when I had met Dr. Robin Lipsy in 2010. She had given me the Suboxone,
Hmm.
right? So I was
Right,
on
you mentioned that.
Suboxone.
Sorry.
I never touched a drug after that. So 2010, I never touched Percocet, drug, nothing. I have not touched drugs since 2010,
That's
any kind
amazing.
of
That's
any
amazing.
kind of drug. But that's where the unresolved trauma came in that I was unaware of at the time,
Hmm.
because I didn't do the hard work. I wanted to do the hard work. I wanted to stay clean. I couldn't stay clean, and I couldn't figure out why. Again, I really didn't know what depression, anxiety was. I was never suicidal when I was using drugs. I didn't want to be alive, but I wasn't suicidal. That's when the alcohol came in. So Dr. Robin Lipsky helped me throughout the way, and I truly was doing pretty well until alcohol
Still alcohol.
came in my life. And at that point, I was like, shit, I would rather take alcohol over any kind of drug any day. And when I tell
Same.
you, Will, there, I was driving drunk.
Hmm.
I mean, it was horrible. Like, I would go, instead of, the second I take my kids to school, I'm at the liquor store buying
Mm.
liquor, coming home to start my day off, to just drink into oblivion.
Yeah, just to drink, just to
Yeah, just
escape
to get that,
reality.
yeah,
Hmm.
just to numb what I still wasn't realizing was unresolved trauma, to numb. I
Yeah.
just wanted to numb. And what fueled it even more was my shame and my guilt and what I looked like, how I was behaving. All of my relationships were ruined. My poor
Mm.
husband, my poor husband, my God, stayed. And again, through the alcohol, everyone's telling him, you need to leave. And at this point, we have four kids, together. He raised my older two. That is their dad. And, and to get clean, I'm going to take the kids from you. Rob's going to leave you, you're going to be homeless. And so every time I tried to get clean, it was because I didn't want to lose my kids or Rob, or I didn't want to not have a house or a family or things like that. And
Hmm.
so I was always trying to get clean for everybody but myself. And I didn't understand, like, I didn't like myself.
Yes.
And at this point in my life, I think I'm 41 now. I think I was 34, 35. My entire adult life, all I did was numb and use. I didn't even know who Danielle was. Now I knew that something inside of me was there, whether you want to call it God, I call it God, whatever it is, that there was a little light always in me. I knew that. But there was so much darkness and so many demons completely just shut that light out. But I always, there's a, an ayah in the Quran that says, verily with hardship comes ease. And so that's how slowly my faith would start to grow. I would reach out to, I would reach out to God or try and open the Quran and find anything to make sense of what I was going through. And none of it made sense, but that verily with hardship comes ease made so much sense to me. Truly was the only thing I was, till this day, I hold on to, right?
Your mantra.
Because God gives you so many hardships for a reason, so that your ease can be better than your hardships and to teach you lessons. And so I never thought I would amount to anything. I never worked, didn't go to college, nothing. I was a baby having babies. I still struggle sometimes how much, the time that I've lost a lot of time. But if I sit with it too long, I will, hopefully not, but I will relapse if I go, through the motions of what I did to everybody and myself.
Yeah. I feel you. I'm with you on that. I totally understand that feeling of when you start to negative self spiral, and but to be patient with yourself, forgiving, be kind to yourself. I think about that all the time. I say to myself, 15 years of my life, the prime of my life from 25 to 36 was, well, that's 10, 11 years. But that was roughly the really bad times. And that's like the prime of your life. And I if I would have focused primarily on just those 10 years, and because I do say it all the time, like, that was the prime of my life, but it doesn't serve me. It doesn't do any good. It doesn't do any good for anyone to think that way, right?
Yeah.
You can only know what you know when you know it, right?
Right.
And it took us, and that's our process, and that's our journey, that we had to go overcome these things and finally figure out, like, who am I after drugs and alcohol? Like, who is Danielle? Who is Will? Right. And I'm still struggling to grasp that very idea, but it is possible. And I honestly, truly think, Danielle, that every single horrible thing that you had to endure actually made you the person that you are today. It actually created this exterior of this confident, powerful woman that I'm looking at right in front of me, who had the courageous fortitude to overcome these things and become the person that you are today. So congratulations, Danielle, for doing that, because that's such a story, what you just told, and there's so many similarities to to mine as well. And I'm very empathetic towards everything that you just shared. So thank you.
As I am to your story, which is why I really wanted to get on here. Like you said, it serves no purpose to keep looking back. I find myself apologizing to my husband or my kids, especially my older kids. The reason why I even came out and said anything last year when I was turned 5 years sober were because of my kids. They're like, stop saying sorry, Mom. Look at you now. Every day we're so proud of you, Mom. Not that it's okay, everything that happened, but who I am today doesn't erase what I did, but sure as hell makes it feel a lot better. Like, I feel like, sometimes I look back and I'm like, everything, I lost this moment or this moment, and I lost so much time, and I think it was just my process. It was what I was supposed to go through. I never thought I'd have a purpose in life other than being a wife or a mom, ever, until I got sober. And if you
can I just stop you? Think about it. What you just said. You never thought you'd have a purpose besides being a wife or a mom. I mean, those are two very important, purposeful things to embrace, Danielle.
But yes, and they are. They're. I'm
I
proud of them. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, and that's why I couldn't get clean or sober. I didn't like me. I did nothing for me, besides numbing. So selfishly, I would numb, but it was only because I didn't like who I was. I liked who I was, drinking and using to an extent, right, in the beginning, and I wanted to be that person. I was not confident at all. I was not strong, and the shame fuels addiction. The shame and the guilt and all of it just fuels your addiction. And so I was throwing a pity party for God, almost 18, 19, 20 years, to the point where when, I got sober, I was like, enough is enough. Sobriety showed me that I am worth loving and living. I deserve to be the mom that for these kids. I deserve to be a wife to my husband. And yes, they all deserve so much more than I was giving them. Forever, for the rest of my entire life, I just hope I can keep making them proud and staying clean and staying sober, but it's not easy and it's not pretty. And I say the easiest thing was putting down the drugs or the alcohol. That was
Yes.
the easiest thing, because getting to face my demons and dig deep and come to face myself was
So much work.
so much worse. It was
Yeah.
very worse. And I still struggle, today. And I'll be lying if I said I don't every day, it pops in my head, whatever could trigger me that I want to use. But because I have a pretty good amount of sobriety time, I have different tools to use. So now, instead of those urges to use lingering for hours and hours, it's like a blip. You know what I mean? And that's what sobriety does. And that's what a clean mind and a clean heart and a clean soul can do.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can do it, really, truly, it's sometimes even sitting here, it's mind-boggling to me
Me
where I
too.
am. It's mind-boggling to me. It's like
Yeah.
out of body. But God saved me for something, right? And
Yeah.
so maybe this is my purpose. I've always said, all that pain, I turned it into my power to serve a purpose. And
Well,
that's what I
Danielle,
keep telling myself every day.
yeah, I mean, I've been doing this podcast for about a year now, almost. Just we're coming up on 1 year in August, the end of August, and let me just say, I've never had to not ask any questions when someone's telling a story, because you're so good at what you're doing. You're so eloquent. You're so relatable. You're so compassionate, and just like everyone
Thank
can
you.
relate to your story in some way or another. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for sharing. Okay.
Thank you. Despite us
And
having to start over, we should. I
I
had
know
to
we had to
breathe
start
this.
over at the
I
very
gotta
beginning.
stop. No, thank
But I'm
you.
glad we did, because look at
Yeah.
that, that space that we entered in,
Right.
and so much
Yes.
goodness came out of it, with that growth.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. So Daniel, what was that moment like when you said, okay, like now I'm going to be sober? Like, how did that go down?
Listen, sometimes when people ask me, it wasn't like some epiphany or aha moment or anything like that.
Yeah.
At this point, so I got sober October 7th, 2019, and it was actually so boring how I got sober, but there was so many awful things leading up to me getting sober that at this point I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I truly don't know what overcame me. Maybe it was that little light I always had in me. Maybe that was that little voice that, is God saying, it's your time. It wasn't my time all those years before to get clean and sober for a reason. It was my time then and now. And so October 7th, 2019, went to the liquor store after I dropped my kids off at school, had every intention of coming home and drinking.
Mhm.
And again, it's so boring. I came home and I was like, I have to do this. I lost so much time and energy, and I was done. And I really just opened the bottle and poured it down the sink.
Wow.
And that was it for me. That was it.
That's very symbolic. So you had every intention of drinking that.
Yeah.
that
Yeah. I
liquor.
bought it and everything, and I just came home and I opened it. And let me tell you though, I did not go to the hospital. I locked myself in the room. It took me about 6 days. I told my mom, because at this point everybody had known. I said, I have to do it. Now, like I said, I tried to cold turkey before, the drugs. It just wasn't, I guess it just wasn't my time. I wasn't ready. This time I put dead set in my head, I'm doing this. 5 days, 6 days is nothing compared to the rest of my life. And when I tell you torture, it's
Danielle,
indescribable.
did you stop cold turkey drinking?
Yeah.
Oof.
I know.
How did you feel it? That can be really dangerous.
I did not know it then, but I don't want to say I was having seizures, but I was shaking.
Mm-hmm.
Something was going on, but I did
bet.
not want to go to the hospital. I didn't want anybody to know. And I just kept saying, at this time, I'm still naive. I did not know that withdrawing from alcohol really could kill you,
Yeah.
But at this point, well, everything I had been through hadn't killed me. F it.
Yeah.
Let me just do it. And so, and that was the easiest part, because facing everything else sober, oh my God.
Oh my God. How hard is that part, right?
Right. Oh my gosh. So, I just, honest to God, by the grace of God, I don't want to call it strength or anything like that. I do believe in myself a lot more. Let me say this. Let me correct myself. It did take strength. I am strong.
You are.
I still struggle with the
You're
words
very
and how I
strong.
talk to myself, but
I'm the
being
same.
more mindful of it, and with, around my kids, So but yeah, and sobriety taught me that if you don't take care of yourself or love yourself first, you can't be good for anybody. So when I say that, the first thing that I need to take care of is myself.
Mm-hmm.
People can call that selfish, but
It's not.
if I'm not good and I'm not on top of my sobriety and I'm not on top of my faith and I'm not on top of my shit,
Yeah.
my kids are not okay and my husband's not okay, and I will be damned if they're not okay.
Danielle, you nailed the nail on the head there, because that's how I always say too. It can, I understand the connotation of it and like how it can sound selfish, like how sobriety is the most important thing in my life, before my kids, we're not saying that like not drinking is more. We're saying that if we don't have our sobriety, if we're not practicing our sobriety properly, and we're not maintaining it and advocating for it and holding personal responsibility over our actions and things that we're thinking about, then that's why it's not, because you can't do anything else in our life. We can't be the good mother. We can't be the good father. We can't be the good spouse, husband, wife. We can't be the good, whatever you name it. We can't have that unless the foundation, those walls of foundation of sobriety aren't put up into place. Yeah. Right. That's why we say that. It's not so much like we're discounting or just, we're totally, we're very mindful of like just how important and vital it is to.
It's deadly. Mm-hmm. It will kill me. It will kill me. I have no more chances left. If I, God forbid, were to relapse, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. I know myself. I know my addicted brain. Addicted Danielle is complete opposite of sober Danielle. And those are two different entities.
So let's talk about Danielle these days. Yes. Let's see that smile. What do you do currently now to maintain your sobriety? What are you doing? I'm really curious.
Now that I've gotten a lot stronger with sharing my story, and the guilt and the shame and the embarrassment and the stigma has all gone away, truly. Like, if I have to be the poster child around here, especially in my community, for what addiction looks like and what sobriety can be, so be it. Mm-hmm. And so they're a tough community around here, let me tell you. So Danielle looks like today, Danielle is productive and happy and present, and she puts herself first so that she could, take care of her kids and be a good wife. Sobriety, not only taught me that I have a purpose, but it also taught me that I can and I want to be so much more. I want to give back. I really, I don't want to say educate in like an educator type of way, but because I've been through it, I'm hoping that, if I can just help one person who is struggling right now, hear my story and say, okay, and get out there and ask for help. I went back to school about 3 years ago. And so I'm a certified peer recovery mentor. I'm on my way to have my addiction counselor license. Danielle. I enrolled for the first time this year. I'm going to cry. For the first time ever back in college. I mean, I'm starting from scratch. My daughter's in college and she was helping me do my classes the other day, and I just started to cry, and she's like, what are you crying for? I'm like, you don't understand. I never thought I would do any of this, nothing. I just thought I would be an addict and die. That's all I thought I would ever be. Mm-hmm. And so I'm so freaking proud of myself. And that takes a lot for me to say, because I still question, my self-worth sometimes, but I get it, know better, do better. I come right back and I get myself in check. Unlike when I was using. I'm so proud of myself, and
let me say, Danielle, I'm proud of you, and everyone listening to this episode is so damn proud of you of how much shit you had to go through and to overcome all, basically every odd, like everything was going against your fate, against you, right?
Yeah.
Against you. And then you finally, it all finally clicked. And now look at you, like, look how blessed you are. You have this wonderful family, this amazing, Rob, like, let me just, for staying around, like, just like my wife, Maiza, like, the same exact thing. Like, such a strong, my rock.
Yeah.
She's
They're
my
put
rock.
in our lives for 100% for a reason. You know what I mean? And so, if that's not love, I don't know what is.
If that's not love,
right?
What is? Yeah. What did we do to deserve that? Right.
Right. I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right now it's just such a fulfilling my life just started. It just started. I'll be 41 this year. My life just started, and that's
Hmm.
okay.
That's how I
That's
feel.
okay.
I'm 39. I'm about to be 39 in August. So I feel like my life is just starting. Like I was a teacher and all that stuff, but I was never giving it my all because
Right.
I was always
So lost and
a
broken.
20% version of who I am,
Right, right. I
my
wouldn't even call
potential.
myself 20% version. Honest to God, I don't even think I was five. Honest to God.
Yeah.
I was just empty waste of space. And now I take up so much space and so much energy that, I'm absolutely loving life,
Do you think
and
do you
go
think if you
ahead.
would have talked to yourself, like to look at yourself right now, 10 years ago, do you think
Oh
any of this could
no,
have been possible?
no. And I didn't have anybody, that was my faith or religion or look like me. I was so young when it happened, and it was just no, I didn't have anybody, and I don't know how I got through it, but I did. And now, I think of all the young women or men, women, the younger generation, whatever it may be, God saved me for a reason, right? And I really think I know this is my reason and my purpose, because I know what the isolation does to you. I know what feeling alone does to you. I know what sitting with your demons all day and night can do to you. And I just hope people hearing my story can just maybe ask for help, you know?
Yes.
Just ask for help. The first thing you need to do is not to say to get sober or anything like that. It's to surrender. You have to fully surrender to, they say, we say in your higher power, God, whatever that may be, to yourself. You need to just surrender and let go and let God, and everything will be okay. If you're still here today, you have a fight in you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason. Everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a story, and more people need to get out there and share them, because in this day and age, we're so advanced. We shouldn't. There should be no stigma around
They
it
shouldn't.
anymore.
No.
And let me tell you, as you know, addicts are the most phenomenal, amazing, glorious human beings I have ever met.
Yes. Yeah. I
Sober.
mean,
It's people.
I
It's you know what I
yeah.
mean. Like,
Yes. I mean, I wouldn't have learned one iota of what I've learned through this process if I didn't
right,
have to go through it. Like
right,
I've learned so much about myself, like who am I? What are my convictions? What am I? What am I? What do I believe in? What are my morals? What am I?
right.
What's my character like? Like I had to kind of rediscover all that
Yeah,
post transplant life.
yeah.
So let me just say, Danielle, thank you so very much for
Thank
sharing
you.
this. That very authentically open, genuine, beautiful, but heavily tragic story. But it has a wonderful um, ending to it,
Not
and
done yet. It's
it's
not
not
done
done
yet.
yet. And that's another thing where I wanted to catch you talk about too is like you could be 7, 17, 37, 77, and tomorrow's a new day. You can
Yep.
always start new. If you're not dead yet, guess what? You can start new tomorrow. So
Yes, you
yeah,
can.
you can. So
If I
I'm
can
not
do it,
kidding.
Will can do
If I
it.
can
You
do it,
can
if
do
you
it.
can do it, if
Yes.
so many of us in the sober community can do it, then so can you. It just takes a little bit of effort to say,
Yes.
I love myself enough to want to do
Yes.
this.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Thank you,
Thank you,
Will.
Danielle. Thank you,
Thank
Danielle. If
you.
people want to find you, where can they locate you?
My Instagram handle, it's Danielle Mallard. Just super simple.
Yep, it's
Um,
DANIELLEMALLAD, correct?
yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you. Thank you. And before I jump off, everyone, I noticed this really interesting thing. 60% of you that follow me on YouTube are not subscribed. And I think I blame me. I'm blaming myself on this one, guys.
Yeah.
So I'll take the L on that. If you are watching my content, if you are finding this valuable in any way whatsoever, then please hit that subscribe button. Please share it to people that you think might help from these conversations. Because if Danielle and I are going through all of this to kind of really bare our souls, then we would so appreciate it if you would share and subscribe to my
Yes.
channel. And don't forget about Apple Podcasts and Spotify and wherever you can find your nearest podcast episode. So thank you so much, Danielle, for
Thank you,
coming
Will.
on.
Thank
This has been a
you.
wonderful experience. I'm so
Yes.
blessed to have gotten to meet you, and I think we'll be
Yes.
friends for a very
Yes.
long time
Yes,
because
we will, Will.
that's how it
Thank you,
works.
Will. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching this one and being on the lookout for many, many more episodes coming soon. Take care.